Ho ho! Good morning. Good morning. Anyone ever feel like they are a preachy type? I know I'm the preachy type. I've been told that I am preachy. That's okay. Be preachy. Because being preachy can be a good thing. Because some people don't feel like you're being preachy. Some people listen to you. Some people are inspired by what it is you have to say. Some people actually, take what you have to say as advice. If it's done with a pure and honest intent, and if it is after all a worthwhile ideal, it can be non-preachy good advice. Other people may take it as preachy for one reason or another. Maybe because they don't have the capacity to understand that something can be preachy without being preachy. Or something can be just simply life experience. Good God, how many times did I say preachy in that last segment? I mean, it must have been at least 1,000. And that's because I refuse to script anything. I all but refuse. I do take notes. Which brings me to another good point, actually. I don't want to spend so much time doing the captions after each of these videos. I might do the captions after the fact in post, but it slows down the free flow of thought. I want you guys to hear me as I am, in my natural state of manic speaking. Moving on, back to the preach. There was a good note in there about it being a worthwhile idea. Yes, so one must decide if what they are preaching about is worthwhile at all in the first place. Because if it's not, then why would you open your mouth about it? And by worthwhile, I mean something that one would deem worthy of publicly proclaiming or teaching, because that is the very definition of preaching. Actually, the definition has a lot of religiosity in it. It constantly makes mention to in a religious way or in a sermon, which may have something to do with why it might have adopted a negative connotation as of modern times, because there's a lot of non-religious people out there. Regardless, should one deem whatever it is they have to proclaim or teach as necessary, one must also assume that it is a meaningful and worthwhile ideal or message that they are attempting to pass on. Much like maybe what I am trying to do with saying the unsaid. Trying to infect with that mindset. So if it's something idealistic that you're going for, then, it may be more of a message. Again, much like saying the unsaid. Whatever it is, it should be well researched. If it's something you're advocating for, an argument of some kind, one side versus the other, you should be able to argue both sides of the argument to fully understand where both sides are coming from, to fully understand where you sit on the situation, so you can be truly convicted of it, which is another aspect of all of it, preaching, that is, and also be well researched. Even if it is something that doesn't seem like it necessarily has very much research to be had, or very many academic articles out there to look into. Even if you don't have access to academic articles, there are ways. Do research. Do it. And sometimes drive talk isn't driving and talking, it is sit in a car, talk. Anyway, you've researched it. Christ alive. You've researched it. Well, now what? You're well researched. You know everything you can know about what it is that you are preaching. In whatever situation you are preaching it in. On the internet. In a classroom. Speech class, what have you. In a group setting. In front of your friends. But are you truly convinced of whatever it is you're preaching? Are you truly convicted of whatever this is, that this ideal you're trying to get across, this argument that you're trying to propose? Are you convinced? Are you certain that you feel the way that you feel? Have you written it down on paper with a pen? So we have our checklist forming here now, you see. We have our ideal/argument. It has been well researched. We are knowledgeable about the matter. We are mostly, if not fully convinced, that we believe in this ideal or argument. Because we have written it down on paper. We have read it aloud, at least to ourselves. And it did not sound ridiculous coming out of our mouths. Because that's the thing. If it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, I hate to be the one to tell you, but it probably is ridiculous. You must read your own work aloud. So use a notepad, write stuff down. That's the thing, is that we're talking about speech patterns here. We're talking about these proposals and these arguments and ideals being spoken to groups of people, of which articulation would probably be your biggest ally in that endeavor. Because articulation is an incredibly attractive quality to possess. It builds credibility, and credibility is definitely something you want on your side when you are trying to convince somebody of whatever it is you are trying to convince them of. If you are proposing your argument or ideal in word format, I think chief among your allies would be proper grammar. Knowing how to write also builds that similar type of credibility. And you don't always need to be fluid and flowing and perfect with your articulation. Sometimes you can William Shatner it, because the brain doesn't always quite work as fast as you want it to when trying to convince somebody of something. Sometimes one must linger. And now coming back around to conviction. You must show conviction, but be humble. Be convicted, but don't doubt yourself. Because if you act as one that is humble, you become a lot more believable. Not that I'm teaching you how to lie or anything. I mean, you shouldn't be lying when trying to preach. That's just... we have enough of that. Moving on. Don't doubt yourself, obviously. As soon as you show any kind of doubt in what it is that you're trying to propose, you're going to become unbelievable to everybody. People can see that even if they don't actively see it. They passively see that, subconsciously see that. Become unbelievable. You also have to be non-judgmental. Your presentation needs to be not condescending. Because even if you're not proposing an argument where you're on one side or the other, even an ideal can be seen as combative these days, unfortunately. So now, imagine knowing all of that and keeping that in mind when doing this, right? And doing other things that involve me speaking to people and all that, and still being called preachy. You won't escape it. Much like I won't escape the sun here. Thank you. We've had enough. You won't escape it. If you have something you feel like you want to say to people, even if it's a group of them, if you feel like you have something to say that is an ideal that should catch on because it is a net force for good, if you provide it, if you allow it to be, if you push it when it needs to be pushed, if you feel like you need to say something that nobody else is saying, do it and be preachy. You're allowed that. And I would very much so like to provide the encouraging word here that maybe somebody needs to hear, okay? You should speak up. If you're that friend in the group of friends that is quiet and timid and shy, speak up. Speak your mind. Maybe your voice gets stifled by your group of friends because they don't want to hear a differing opinion, because they're comfortable with their own opinion. They want to be right. They want to feel like they know it. Frick and all. They don't, okay? They certainly haven't heard your opinion. Maybe they're scared of it. Who knows? But speak up. Speak up. You can do that. You should do that. People like me want you to do that. And we value your opinion. I, for one, definitely value your opinion on whatever it is. Because even if I disagree with your opinion, which I commonly do, we both may learn something from it. Because I'm allowed to disagree. You're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to think that men shouldn't wear scarves because it makes them a little more flamboyant. That's okay. That's all right. I understand that. I'm allowed to think that that's preposterous BS. I mean, some of the toughest guys I know, they go to the gym. They wear their adorable tights underneath. Ooh, keep my muscles warm. Yeah, it's smart. But why draw the line at the neck? Huh? I'm a singer, for God's sake. I need to keep these muscles intact. Okay? You're allowed to disagree with that, though. You're allowed to show a different side, a different side of life, a different side of mind. Ridiculous example, I know, but an example nonetheless. But I'm also not afraid to have my mind changed on a matter. That is being open-minded. That's being truly open-minded, is to not fear having your mind changed when it comes to something that you think you feel a certain way about when talking to somebody who is actually convicted of what it is they believe in. Okay? So preach. And when others do so, listen with the utmost scrutiny and let them know how you feel about it. Because I want to encourage that voice inside you that is desperately yearning to get out, that is desperately yearning to scream and holler back at the people who are trying to stifle it and tell you that your opinion doesn't matter. But only under the right circumstances. And only when you are convinced of what you believe in. You are well researched. You are well spoken or well written. Whatever it is. That you have the full 9 yards for your proclamation that is teaching. You're preaching. And you do it and you believe in it. And I believe you can do that. Because I was that guy who was told many things. And I was timid. Told many things. Many things like my voice didn't matter. You know, not directly. You know, kind of indirectly though. That's how it felt. I know, my poor feelings. God, how did I survive? Get better. Get better. You're better than that. I was better than that. So were you. And become more. Become more because you know you want to become more. You even know it. And even though you might doubt it at times, you know you can. You know it's as easy as trying. And I'm rooting for you. And there are many, many others who are rooting for you. Maybe even in your group of friends. Maybe even people in your family. People you don't know are secretly rooting for you that maybe haven't told you because they are not saying it. They are leaving it unsaid. And even if they're not, who cares? Believe that they are, because they might be. Know that I am, and that there are people who are. I believe in you.